you're a police officer. Are you more on edge, more worried now that it does seem to be that there are a lot of people out there with anger against police officers or white police officers, as was the case in Dallas, and that this has changed the situation for every police force in America?
Oh, absolutely. I can tell you, Howard, that police departments all across the nation are under high alert right now because of threats such as this. Now, just to add insult to injury, the Baton Rouge Police Department, ever since the shooting of Alton Sterling, they have been under an extremely high alert, and they received many threats by way of social media. So they've been kind of preparing for the worst. They've had individuals actually sending emails to them making threats. So for this shooting to occur this morning, to many, is not that much of a surprise. However, the police, because of their massive response, hopefully they'll be able to identify this individual. If it was just one individual, they haven't said yet. But again, they continue to tweet out, and I'm just reading one right now, where they are asking the community to stay away from the area near the police headquarters, and they are looking for at least one, maybe two subjects. They just don't know yet. Very fluid situation. But again, Howard, police departments all across the country, including there in Cleveland where you are on high alert because of this potential threat.
Kristen Powers, we were just talking about the Dallas shock to all of us journalists, citizens, Americans, and how that affects the media climate and really the political climate as Donald Trump gets ready to begin his convention here.
Yeah, I mean, I think we do have to be careful because we don't know who shot the police officer. You know, we need more information about it, and I think what we'll tend to see is everybody sort of goes to their corners, and some people will be blaming, you know, police for the brutality, and some people will be blaming Black Lives Matter people, and it's actually a more complicated situation than that, I think. And that, as Steve said, most police officers are not gunning down innocent people, but at the same time, most Black Lives Matter people are not gunning down cops, and so we need to remember that even if this person says, like the shooter in Dallas said, that they're angry about police brutality, it doesn't mean that this is part of the Black Lives Matter movement. I mean, somebody who goes out and shoots an innocent person is a different kind of person than your sort of average protester. In the same way, this police officer who brutalizes somebody is different than your average police officer.
And Heidi Presbella, to the extent to which the media try to be restrained, particularly in a fluid situation where we don't know the facts, we don't know if there was one or more shooter, we don't know the motivation, we don't know much of anything right now. But what happens is, as time goes on, is it becomes an issue or further fodder for a political campaign. The fact that this is happening just at the start of the first of the two-party conventions, that could happen again, could it not?
Certainly, because we're just in such an on-edge period right now in American politics. I mean, it just seems like we are constantly living in the aftermath of some kind of civil unrest or some kind of terrorist attack. And those fears absolutely will play into people's emotions and maybe even their preferences for a presidential candidate. Now, I don't think either Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump is going to overtly politicize any of this. And as a matter of fact, as we saw in the aftermath of the recent terrorist attack in Paris, they were very restrained, at least initially, and hesitant to kind of politicize this. And I think the media, for their part as well, in the aftermath of some of these shootings, has also been very restrained. Like you said before, I didn't get to mention this on the show last week, but like both the Post and the New York Times were putting some of the same images on their front pages of a young African-American girl signing condolences on the police car down in Dallas. And you juxtapose that with some of the focus earlier in the campaign on a single individual at a Trump rally sucker punching someone, or a single protester outside of that rally getting violent, which, like Kristen said, is not representative of the broader groups involved there.
If you are just joining us, we have incomplete reports, but reports nonetheless of one or more police officers being shot in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And I'm just thinking of the last few days, Steve Hayes. You had the awful truck attack in Nice, at least 84 people killed, many more wounded. Friday night, you had the coup in Turkey, Friday night our time. And I was going to ask you all about what impact that has. When the attack happened in France on Thursday night, Donald Trump called into the O'Reilly factor as well as Greta. Hillary Clinton called into the O'Reilly factor. She doesn't usually do that with Fox News. So there's no way that the candidates can avoid having to deal with the bloodshed that is being carried into America's living rooms.
No, they can't, and I think part of what this campaign is likely to be about between now and November is making sense of all of this chaos. I mean, in some ways, you know, it's easy for media types to lump it all together because it's a series of sort of blows on the American polity, but in many ways they're not related. I mean, there is this chaos, but, you know, what's happening in Nice isn't necessarily related to what's happening in Turkey, which has nothing to do with what's happening here. And I think what you're going to see is probably an argument about how we explain these things, I mean, between the candidates and the reporters covering them.
Let me go back by phone to